Now let's have a look at the second part of conditioning. Now the second part of the conditioning includes something known as the switch case and default statement. In this part, we're going to look at how to match a value that is stored inside a variable. So we're going to use this same thing. Maybe we can actually change this, change the pages part. Maybe let's erase this off and let's just keep only one value inside it rather than keeping an array or a list of values. Home or home page. Perfect. So the main difference between two of this conditioning part is that obviously they are syntactically different, but they are also computationally different. Like if-else conditioning requires far more computing power than switch case statement. But switch case statement does not have the flexibility that we get inside if, else if, and else statements. So the switch case statement works somewhat differently. So it's going to take one single value and it's going to check with each of its own cases. So let's actually look at the syntax first. So let's create something like switch. Then we have got the case and the default. So our text editor has already created that for us. Now, so when we look at the syntax, we can actually see that we have got something like a variable. Then inside this switch statement, inside this entire statement or this entire block of code, we need to pass in something like a value for a case. Then we have got another default clause, or this default part where we see something like breaks or this break statements. So essentially this break statement is somewhat different than this else or else if part. So they differ in somewhat arbitrary way. So we're going to look at how to pass in a variable like this pages. We're going to pass this variable pages in here, and we're going to check that variable's value multiple times. So the switch statement works somewhat like, let's pass the variable first, then let's create a case. Let's create something like home page. Then we can output a message to the browser for the user. So we can actually write something. You have clicked on home page. So the case statements actually work like the else if part, and the else statement works like the default part. So you can actually see the similarities. In the else statement, we have seen that we do not need to pass in any sort of conditioning. And inside the default part, you can see we are not providing any sort of expressions, and this is unlike the case part. So in the case section, this is somewhat like the else part, although we are not actually providing a condition in here. This is not a condition. This is just an expression. So the switch statement is going to evaluate your variable, which means it's going to look inside the variable and it's going to look into the value of the variable. Then it's going to retrieve that value, and then the compiler will move into the first case statement or this first expression that is stored inside this case block. So it's going to match this retrieve value from this page variable, and then it's going to match this with that with the value from the first case expression. So this is the expression, and this will get matched with the value of the variable. So if the value matches with this expression, the expression that is stored inside this first case statement, then it's going to print this echo, or it's going to echo out this message to the browser. Then, because we cannot have multiple conditions to be true, we can only have a single condition that needs to be rendered out to be true, like we have seen in the previous videos about the if and else if statements. So in the previous videos we have seen that when the compiler actually goes through this entire process of checking the if else if statements, if one of these conditions matches, if one of these conditions is true, then it actually ignores the rest of the part. But if none of these conditions are true, if none of the above if and else if statements are true, then it will trigger the last else clause and it will echo out this message on the browser. Likewise, this switch statement is going to retrieve the value from this pages variable, and then it's going to match that with the case statement, with the expression that is stored inside this case statement. And if that expression is equivalent, or if it's equal to the value that is stored inside this variable, then it's going to echo out this message on the browser. Then, because only one case statement can be true, that's why it's going to break the program, and then it's going to break out of this entire case block, and then the pointer or the compiler is going to entirely break out of this switch block after it reaches this break part. Now likewise, you can actually create more case statements or case expressions like this. You can actually create about us page, and you can type in a message like this. So this is just for the simplicity part, and you can even, rather than actually providing in a real life application, you're not only going to provide a message to the user, you're also going to do something with that click. Like if the if your user clicks on a button, if your user clicks on the pages button, then you're going to redirect him towards the home page if he clicks on the home page. If he clicks on the About Us page, then you're going to redirect him towards the About Us page. So like that. So just for the simplicity's sake, I'm going to show you how to print out the message. You have clicked on About Us page, and then so you can actually go on including as many case statements or expressions as you want, and remember to add this break statement after you're done. So let's also include something inside this default part. So let's include something like you need to click on our page. Let's save this, and let's actually comment the if statements out for now. Okay, now we're done. So you can even concatenate something like this. So let's actually run this code on our browser. So let's bring up the browser and let's refresh.